Hey, those are cool tats, man.
Oh, for real. Thank you, bro. You
Yeah.
see the Cobra?
Hey, what is this one?
Oh, this?
Uh-huh.
That's my credo. No regrets.
Mm-hmm. You have no regrets?
Dad?
Nope.
Like not even a single letter?
No way. Not me.
Now, he might not have any regrets, but I do. Here are the top 5 guns that I regret selling. Stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back. I am Joseph and you're watching another episode of Taking Shots. I appreciate y'all coming here and checking out this video. Now this is the top 5 guns that I regret selling. And I'm going to start at number 5, which is going to be the least of the 5 that I regret selling. And I'm going to work my way up to the number 1 that I regret selling the most. Alright guys, number 5 on my list. The Henry AR-7 Survival Rifle. Now this is a pretty neat gun. The receiver, the barrel, the whole assembly, it all fits inside of the buttstock of the gun. And a cover goes over the buttstock, and it's supposed to be waterproof. It's supposed to be, if it falls off your boat, it falls into the water, it's supposed to be able to float, and then you can retrieve it. It's pretty neat. It holds a few, I think it's like 3 megs, 1 in the gun, I think, in the receiver, and then I think 2 extra megs, if I remember correctly. And it all just fits inside of the butt of the gun. It's a survival gun. It's a .22 long rifle. It was a good gun. I mean, Henry did a good job making this. I had it for a short while, and I did enjoy shooting it. It was accurate. It was good. But the fact that the magazines, I think they only held like 7 rounds or 10 rounds or whatever it was. I don't remember. It's been many years, but it wasn't a high enough capacity for me. And at that time, higher capacity magazines meant more to me than what it was to own this gun. This is back when my gun collection was very small, and I wanted something that had more capacity, and I ended up selling the gun. Now, I sold it to a friend, a coworker of mine. He bought it. He absolutely loved it. I remember him telling me, you know, I can't believe you sold this gun. It's so accurate. It shoots so well. There's no hiccups, no jams, no nothing. It was good. And then I kind of, regretted a little bit too. Like, why did I sell it to him? Why, the gun is cheap enough. Why didn't I just keep it in my collection? Why did I have to let it go for? So that is the number 5 gun on my list of guns I do regret selling. Now, they are out there. They're still cheap. I could go buy another one. I haven't yet. And maybe down the road I will. I don't know. We'll see. But that's why it comes in at number 5 on my list. All right. We're at number 4. Number 4 is the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. Now, I bought this gun back when they first came out. It was a Gen 1. It was a great little gun. I mean, I don't think I ever had any jams in this gun. It shot flawlessly. My only complaint about the gun is when you go to insert the magazine into the mag well, the plastic of the grip handle would actually open up just a little bit to allow the magazine in, and once it clicks into place, the grip well would reclose again, and it would be good. But if you wasn't careful when you were putting the mag in and taking the mag out, you could actually pinch your skin on that, and that wasn't good, right? But I did find a rubber grip that was meant for a Glock. It had the Glock finger. I did find a rubber Try this again. I did find a rubber grip that was meant for a Glock, and it fit over the grip of the gun, and then that fixed the pinching issue of the gun. And after that, it was a great gun. But I don't remember why I sold that one. But the Gen 2s eventually came out, and I was like, that's fine, because the Gen 2s fixed the grip issue. The Gen 2 wouldn't pinch you anymore. And the Gen 2 had a threaded barrel, which is nice, because the Gen 1 that I had didn't have a threaded barrel. And it didn't have the attachments on the rail. They can't remember if it's an M-lock attachment that they added on the Gen 2. But they ended up putting more attachments on there and more features, like I think a 3-point position on the stock that you can adjust the stock ever so slightly, which I don't recall the Gen 1 having that. So there were some upgrades on the Gen 2, but I still wasn't sold on ever rebuying a Gen 2. But I always thought about my Gen 1, and I do regret selling it. It was a great gun. It wasn't perfect, like I said. I mean, it didn't have the threaded barrel, and the grip would pinch you if you didn't have that rubber Glock grip cover that I had on there. But it was a good gun. I do regret it. And the Gen 2, when it came out, fixed a lot of stuff, but I wasn't still quite happy with the Gen 2. And the Gen 2 never fixed the biggest issue of all, and that's when you actually fold the gun to close it, because the gun like literally just folds in on itself, like backwards over. And if you had any type of optics, a red dot, a scope, or anything on there, you couldn't fold the gun. You actually had to take the sight off every single time you folded it. And that was like the biggest issue with the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. And I don't know why they didn't fix that issue when the Gen 2 came out. But the Gen 3s just came out, and they did fix the issue. I do believe that they fixed that issue because the Smith & Wessons just came out with a variant of the gun that's real similar to the Sub 2000, only instead of folding back over on itself, it side folds. So you can keep an optic on there, keep it zeroed in. You're not going to have any issues with that. But I think because of that, that's when the Gen 3s got modified. And now the hand grip of the gun, when you go to fold it, you can actually twist the hand guard, and then the gun kind of like curves over, and then it can fold over in half. So your optics, your scope, or whatever, your red dot, is not going to close in on the gun. It's going to be folded sideways when it closes, and you don't have to remove it anymore. So I may pick up a Gen 3 Sub 2000, so I won't have to have this regret anymore. Alright guys, we're at number 3 on the list. And number 3 is my Mauser K98. Now, I had purchased this gun back when I was young. I think I was probably about 20 years old. And I actually bought it from a buddy of mine, I think for about $200. And it included a big can full of ammo. And it was a beautiful, beautiful rifle, all serials matching. And I remember doing like very extensive research on it back in the day. And I believe it was, I'm trying to recall because it's been a while since I sold this gun. I think it was like a 1936, if I remember correctly. And it was something with Germany was invaded by another country, and they had taken the firearms and they rebranded them. And this gun was a Mauser K98 that had been rebranded, restamped for that country. But essentially it was still the Mauser K98. Gorgeous condition. The only reason I sold it is I remember I just wanted to give it a nice cleaning, a nice oiling, and I don't think I had the correct wire brush size to go in there. I think the brush I had was just like a hair too big, and it actually got jammed inside the rifle of the gun. And when I tried to pull it out, it was one of those rifle cleaning rods where each section screws into the other section, and it broke off inside the gun, and I could not for the life of me get that brush out of the gun. I bought dowel rods, I tried hammering everything out, and I was afraid if I was going to be too much more forceful that I was going to damage the rifling of the gun. And eventually I think I kept it just as like a safe queen for a few years with that jammed inside, and eventually I'm like, what's the point of this? And I sold the gun. And I do regret it because they have massively shot up in price after selling that gun, and that one was in like absolutely amazing condition. Now, I was walking through a local gun show not too long ago, maybe within the past year or so, and it was a pawn shop that came in, and they were trying to sell stuff real cheap that was just overflow of inventory they had in various pawn shops throughout the state of Florida. Nobody bought them, and they just wanted to get rid of them, so if they could even get what they paid for the firearm, then they were willing to sell the gun. And they had this. This is a Mauser K98. Now, this particular one, it's been sporterized, unfortunately, but it has the original markings on it. Let me see if I can show you here. One right here. You can see, maybe not. It still has those markings of the eagle stamped on it. And from what I'm told is any of the guns that were sporterized and brought in America to be sold, if they had those markings on them, they were actually grinded off and then they were sporterized to be sold. So the fact that this still has both of the eagle markings, the bird markings, I can't think of the name of it. I'm sure I'll be seeing it in the comments, but since this still has both of the markings on the gun and it doesn't have an importer, that this was likely to have been a war trophy firearm. So somebody probably fighting in the war over there brought this back with them, and then they just sporterized it, turned it into a hunting gun. Unfortunately, they tapped the top to put a scope on it, but it's still in really good condition. And again, these guns have skyrocketed in price, especially if they have the Nazi markings on it, and this one does. But I was able to get this like really cheap. It was too cheap to turn down, especially considering the markings that are on there. So it's definitely a war trophy, and it's a nice piece to add to my collection that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about selling my old K98 that I had. This one I think is stamped, it says Mod 98 BYF 45. And from what I can recall, the research I did when I first got this firearm, when I looked it up, the factory it was manufactured at, I believe was bombed and destroyed, I think within a few months after this gun was manufactured. So that was one of the last factories left over in Germany that still made these guns, and so this is one of the last guns I think that was probably made over there. Finding that gun and being able to add that to my collection definitely eases the pain a little bit of my old Mauser K98 that I had sold. Alright guys, number 2. IWI Tavor TS12. Now I know that's gonna surprise my friends at the gun store because I loved that gun. And I mean, some people had claims that theirs was a little finicky on ammo and maybe it jammed up or whatever, but mine ran flawlessly. I never had any issues with it. It was a little cumbersome to figure out when you're first trying to shoot the gun with the moving parts and everything, but once you figured out and kind of learned how to handle the gun, it shot flawlessly. I loved the color. It was OD green, but yet it kind of looked a little bit more flat, dark earthish in color, but it was classified as OD green. Loved the gun. Definitely regret selling it. I needed money at the time. I think I was, whatever it was, I needed money at the time. And so I told myself, I was like, well, my local gun store has another one of these guns, because he had another one sitting in the back room that was the same color. And I told myself, well, I can sell this now, get the money for it, and then later on down the road, I can go back to the gun store and I can repurchase his other one, and I'll get that one because it's the same color. And the reason why that was important to me is because the ones classified as OD green now are actually very green in color. And I don't like the color nearly as much as I did on the one that I had and the spare one in the store. They were among the first batches of them that were produced back when when the gun had first come out. And now that the gun's been out a little while, the colors changed for some reason. I don't know if it was intentional or if it was just something to do with the mixing of the colors in the factory, but The new ones are very, very green, and I just don't like them, the appearance of them nearly as much. The issue is the gun store had actually sold the one that they had as a backup that had been sitting for ages. It hadn't even got brought out to the floor, and he did eventually sell that, and I didn't know, so I'm not able to repurchase it. So that is a regret of mine because mine's gone, and the fellow backup one that I could have potentially got to replace it is now gone too. So my 2.4 TS12 is gone. I'm sad. But, you know, it is what it is. Maybe I can get another one if I can just get past the color difference, because I believe the last I had looked, they were still available. They were in stock, ready to be ordered. So, who knows? Who knows what might be come down the road, you know. Maybe I'll get another one, but till then, I am a TS12-less. Alright, guys. We're at it. We're at number 1. This is the gun that I regretted selling the most, and that was my Franchi Spas 12. You might know this gun from Jurassic Park, The Terminator, countless video games. I mean, it is the iconic 80s, early 90s gun. But ever since I saw Jurassic Park when I was a little kid, I had always wanted this gun. And my wife knew that I always wanted this gun, and she offered to purchase it for me. I don't remember if I had to pay her back or if it was just a gift. I can't recall. But this was back in 2016. And I saw one at a gun show, but I didn't purchase it. Left, it came home, and I ended up messaging my friend because my wife said she wanted to buy this for me since I wanted it so badly. And I messaged my friend who was working at the show. He's an FFL, and he's like, well, I'll just pick up the gun for you, and then you can purchase the gun from him. So I agreed to it. He bought the gun, transferred it to his FFL, and sold it to me. I believe he talked him down a few $100 on the price, and just marked it up, I think maybe like a couple $100, and then sold it back to me. So I think I got it for $1,500 out the door, was my final price on it back in 2016. If you don't know anything about the gun, they are actually, they have these pieces of like rubber in them for the buffer of the gun and for pieces of the stock and the grip. They use this type of like rubberish material in various spots of the gun, and it's known to deteriorate over time. You're not supposed to shoot the gun until these parts have been replaced because you can damage the gun, completely destroy it, and that's what happened with Brandon Herrera when he was out with Demolition Rants shooting their Spas 12s. Is rip his Spas 12 because I believe he cracked the receiver and the gun is just completely gone. They only imported 1,850 of these guns, and I don't know if that's 1,850 of just the ones with the hook, or if that 1,850 includes the ones with the solid stock, because if that's the case, then there's even less of the ones with the hook on it. I had never shot mine, and it literally was just in the back corner of my safe, tons of guns in front of it, and I never got to see it. It was just kind of hidden, tucked away back there. And so when I wanted to pull stuff out, like I had to pull everything out to get to the gun, and that was kind of cumbersome to do that from time to time. So I had looked, and then all of a sudden, online, for some reason or another, the prices of these guns have just like skyrocketed. The gun that I paid $1,500 for out the door, which $1,500 was the original price of the gun, right back in like when they first got released in 1982 here in America. They were a $1,500 gun back then, which is incredibly expensive. But to hold the value for all these years later was still pretty amazing. Like I still felt like I was almost overpaying for the gun, paying the full price all these years later for it. But for whatever reason, the price has skyrocketed, and they were selling for like $3,000 to $5,000 ish dollars online, and it just got me thinking. I was like, well, I'm not shooting the gun. It's just a safe queen. I don't want to shoot the gun until I can replace these parts. And the website SPOS 12 Project hasn't had any parts available to replace them with in probably at least a few years. So there was nothing I could get to fix it, to shoot it. So it just was basically a safe queen. So because the value went up, I traded it in. I used the extra money from the gun. I paid off the 2 layaways I had, and I took home 3 other guns from that transaction. And one of the guns was the Tavor TS12 that I had got. And because I thought, okay, well, I'm losing a 12-gauge shotgun. That's cool. But I'm going to be gaining another 12-gauge shotgun. That's cool. But this one, I feel safe going out there and firing and don't have to worry about damaging the gun. But that's actually the irony of selling the SPOS 12 to purchase the Tavor TS12. And then I mentioned that I sold the Tavor TS12 to get money. Well, that money was to repurchase back my SPOS 12. So here it is, guys. The Franke SPOS 12. I got her back. It's got the folding hook. But the parts that go bad are like this little rubber piece here. There's one that goes in here. Actually, I think it's missing. Yeah, I think there's a rubber piece that goes in here that I need to replace. There's one in the grip right here. This one's still good, but this often gets damaged. And then there's a buffer piece inside of the gun and a little O-ring seal. So my plan is whenever the SPOS 12 project manufactures those pieces again, I'm going to purchase them and then take this down to a gunsmith, have them look it over and install the pieces. I want to make sure she's in tip-top shape and she's safe, because I would be absolutely devastated if anything ever happened to this. This was my #1 gun regret selling, and by sheer luck and the kindness of the store owner, he held on to this for his personal collection, and when a customer traded in another SPOS 12, he had agreed to sell this one back to me. So Charles, thank you for selling that back to me. It means the world to me to have this back in my collection. I was a fool for selling it, but I am very fortunate to have it back, so thank you. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I mean, we all buy and sell guns. At least the vast majority of us end up trading guns in. 90% of the time it's for the better. You get something, you don't like it, you trade it in, you sell it or whatever, and then you get something else that you do like. But very rarely, occasionally, it ends up being a regret. You wish you would have kept it for whatever the reason. These were my 5, again with the number 5 being the least regrets to the #1 being the highest regret. So hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, comment, show your love, give a small channel some support, and till next time, guys, thank you.